welcome to Risky Business. I'm Jessica, your small business risk advisor, and today we are going to talk about 7 coverage types that are important for small businesses. Last month, we talked about 5 policies for small businesses to consider. This month, we'll talk about 2 more. So finally, 2 lines of coverage that you need, but you may think you don't need, include cyber liability and employment practices liability. So cyber liability is a coverage that I often hear small business owners say they don't think they need to have. I hear arguments like, we don't have a website, we aren't taking payments online, and while those things are important, cyber coverage is still a coverage that's needed. So if you're using the internet, if you have an email service, this is a way that hackers can get into your system, access information of your employees, of your clients. And so even though you may feel like the information you have doesn't warrant the coverage, we definitely feel like everybody needs to have cyber liability. I also hear small business owners talk about how payment processors take on the risk of the liability when it comes to taking payments online. And while this may be the case, it's very important that you read over the contract you have with the payment processor, because oftentimes what we see is the payment processor putting the liability back on the client or small business owners. And so you want to make sure, if you're relying on that, that you know for sure that that is how your contract is written, that you've signed off on. Approximately 60% of small businesses go out of business within 6 months after experiencing a cyber attack. While many small business owners think they are not at risk for their information being taken ransom, what we find is that often hackers target small businesses because they know that their cybersecurity isn't as robust as some of the large guys. The second coverage you may need but think you may not need is employment practices liability. This is a coverage that's going to protect you in the event of a claim regarding things such as sexual harassment, unfair hiring practices, etc. We often hear small businesses say, we know our employees, we hire good people. And while this may be true, you don't know what somebody's going to do or how people may react to certain situations. So we often see this domino effect where one employment practices liability claim is brought to the carrier, and then we see multiple follow afterwards. So regardless of the type of people you feel like you're hiring, this is a coverage that everybody needs to have to protect themselves. It's important to note as well that employment practice liability coverage is not provided under the general liability policy. If you have any questions about your small business insurance, we are here to help.